So I'd like to welcome you all to the Choices for Change panel discussion. And this panel discussion ideally serves as a centerpiece for the Alternative Lifestyle Festival. And primarily as a country, globally, what's happening right now is we're standing at a crossroads where there are lots of advancements that are happening in technology, in science, in research, in consumer habits. And so we need to empower ourselves to choose better alternatives, and we need to reshape the way we live, the way we work, and the way we interact with our environment. This also formed the basis for the platform What's the Alternative when we created it. It's structured on sustainability. It has 3 thematic areas: lifestyle, wellness, and well-being, and the environment. And this is our 3rd event, which focuses on alternative lifestyle choices. So as you look around and move around in this wonderful ground, we have something for everybody. More importantly, we have stuff that's handmade, that's organic, that focuses on wellness. It focuses on alternative lifestyle choices. And so you can choose, how you can live your life differently, what you can do, what are the different products that you can use as alternative choices. And so that you can make more mindful decisions in order to live a more fulfilling life. So I'm going to start with the panel now, and I'm going to start off with Uroos first. Uroos, thank you for joining us. So I'd like to ask you, there's a global shift towards sustainability and alternatives. Could you elaborate on how your organization is adapting and innovating to embrace this mandate?
Shaista, first of all, thank you so much for having us over here, representing Philip Morris, because when you guys started this platform, it just clicked that, people are talking about alternatives, and that's exactly what Philip Morris has been doing globally, where they have committed to replace cigarettes with better alternatives. So overall, because of the sustainability agenda and all of that, it is integrated into our business, whereas product transformation is taking place, and we're moving away from cigarettes in many markets and going towards less harmful alternatives. It's also within the DNA of the organization, where we're working on equal salary certification, and within Pakistan, I think PMI was one of the first to have that. And then in terms of gender, of course it's merit-based, but we are really, really grooming women with things like Make Your Comeback and all. So it's just a very exciting time to be with this organization, because not only are they considerate of the fact that smoking is harmful, they're actually, as a business, transforming. So that's what's happening, and that's what's happening globally, and really interesting times for the industry as well.
I think that's really important. I think understanding where the global shift is happening and how, as organizations, we need to pivot and move to a better market. So I'd like to know, the UN SDGs, they've set a global framework for addressing the world's most pressing challenges. Can you discuss how Philip Morris has made an approach, or what strategies it's using to align with these goals? And what tangible impacts have you, can you talk about?
Absolutely. So as I said, product transformation is one part of it that we have integrated. Then of course, gender and equal rights for men and women based on merit, all of that is happening on different platforms. But most interesting is our footprint, because of course you have your environment that we work very closely with, in terms of, because we have an impact on the environment, our product has an impact on the environment. So we took it very step by step, and I think anti-littering was one of the things that came up, because according to research, we also realized that cigarette butt littering outside of the cigarette smoke pollution was a big part. So we started with anti-littering campaigns, where we actually have gone into communities and given information around it, awareness around it, and it continues in different markets across the globe. Then within our own facilities, we have, of course, gone to alternate energy sources, and using less power, using less water, recycling. We've done like within Pakistan, we've done like recycling facilities, anti-littering drives, as well as providing retrofitted vehicles for one of the organizations called Now PDP, where that's part of their thing now. So they have a facility over there which is recycling, and people are actually using it to make money as well. So that we've done a couple of drives with you guys. So it's just one of those things that tangibly we're doing very much on anti-littering, and of course on the gender parity. Other than that, globally there's our own agendas that we take forward that are linked to different UN SDGs, and then they're cascaded through different markets. So
wonderful. Yes, some of the work that you're doing has had very deep impact, and given the inherent marketing challenges that is faced by tobacco companies, because marketing is a challenge, how do you as an organization navigate these constraints to effectively communicate all the work that you're doing on sustainability, because there's a lot that you're doing, right? And what strategies are you kind of employing to ensure that there's transparency and engaging stakeholders?
So Philip Morris, as it is a very transparent organization with our reporting and everything that we put out there for different markets, and then with our global reports as well. But I think marketing wouldn't be the right term, because that is not something that any cigarette manufacturer can do. But what we do believe in is the people that work for us, with us, and how they impact the organization positively. And we try to frame that as best as we can. And all of the product innovation or good sustainability-focused work that we are doing, we try to put that out there through different mediums, such as working with the right kind of partners who have the same thought process as us, to innovate and transform and do good. That's how we do it.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Uroos. And as we can see, organizations, can we have a round of applause, please? Thank you. So what's important is, as organizations, you kind of pivot to where the global needle is moving, and I'm glad to see that is happening. I'd like to come to Sadia now. Sadia, I would love to hear from you about the KE 2030 vision and its approach towards renewables, because that's the alternative. So
hi, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. And I know power sector is really the last place where this conversation takes place. So we started this journey about 2 years ago, when we said, look, we have to be very clear of this one thing: the way we're operating, and it's not just us, the way the world is operating, we've got to change. If we keep going this way, it's not going to work. We're going to hit a brick wall. We're going to hit a 2-degree change, which is going to change the world for us. And that's not how we want to leave this world. So when you look at the power sector, it's one of the largest producers of all sorts of things that you and a lot of people here stand against, but it's necessary. So we looked at shaping a way which was sustainable, which could work, and which would sort of offset some of the work that we do and give us a pathway to progress. So last year, K Electric announced that we would like to transition towards certain clean energy. So by 2030, we aim to create 30% of our energy from renewable sources. Now, more than ever, it's important, because not only is this cleaner, but it's also cheaper. If you've got electricity coming in from hydel sources, which inshallah we would, it was something which was not actually possible in Pakistan's regulatory landscape. But now with the market opening up, K Electric now has a non-exclusive license, which basically means that the market is open for competition. And that's something we did voluntarily, by the way. But we want to create a market where the customer wins. The customer has choices on what kind of energy that they consume, the source of that energy, whether it's produced from fuel, from diesel, from RLNG, or it comes from greener sources like solar, wind, and water. So it's about making these choices available. So the grid requires that certain sources of energy will come from non-environment friendly sources, but it's about creating a balance and creating grid resilience. We are seeing, a major shift towards green energies is also creating uncertainties, And this is quite in line with the whole, we started off with this whole globalization wow factor. I mean, those of you who were doing your college in the 2000s would remember, the whole globalization fantasy. And that fantasy is now unraveling a little bit. So you need to sort of be in sync and break it down, deconstruct the way that we're operating. And that's the mindset that we're trying to inculcate at K Electric. It's a 100-year-old company, Shaista. And you have to change and we have to pivot. It's a bit of a giant beast. Some people call it a monster. I wouldn't agree, but so it's one of those things that you need to bring around very gently, but also at a pace that matches the needs of today. And we need to change. So that's where we are. We really hope that other companies in the power sector, the ones that are existing and the ones that will inshallah be on their way because the market is now open, will follow this blueprint, because we can't do without cleaner sources into our mix.
I think what is commendable is how the change is happening, and that it's happening. Like you said, it's such an old institution. One would think it can't happen, but you guys are actually making it happen. And I think we should clap for Karachi Electric for that, because they're doing phenomenal stuff. I really want to talk about the Roshni Baji initiative, because it is my favorite initiative. I think it's a really great step towards inclusivity and empowerment in the energy sector, and you don't see other power players actually taking that kind of step. So I really want to hear, and I want you to share with the audience how this initiative was conceptualized and the impact that it's creating on ground, because it is an alternative source of employment for women. Absolutely. In a space where people usually say no, women can't work. So
yeah, gotta love that. It's not just, by the way, the power sector. I mean, if you look at not just Pakistan, but across the world, the power sector is actually amongst the lowest, worst places, if you look at it, for women to work. And globally, you don't find a lot of women in the power sector. On the solar side, on the renewable side, you'll find a lot more women. That's why the average looks a little bit better than the rest of the industry, but it's really not a place to be. And generally, you sort of discourage it. It's a man's world, it's a man's job, and so on and so forth. It's a 24/7 job, so a lot of people will come and tell you, you can't have women in the night shift. It's really difficult. It's it's a shift job, and so on and so forth. So when we started this, I got the same problem. Is that and then I hope there are no HR people here, and I don't get reported. But a little bit of laziness, right? Oh, we don't have the right talent. We can't find the right women. There are no women who want to apply. They just want to sit at home, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, which women are you talking about? I'm sure there are plenty. I work in comms, so I said I'll start looking, and so we've got female news anchors in the middle of the night. We've got makeup artists who work throughout the day. We've got women in the medical sector who work throughout the day. We've got women who are in the field doing polio vaccinations and actually fighting bullets. So that's why we started looking. And when we started, I found one. After 6 months of search, I found one. Shaida, she's still with us. And she said, I'll get you more. So we came up to 3, 6, and 10. And that's where we got stuck, right? Because that's where Shaida's circle finished. And I kept going back to HR saying, can we find more women? And they said, we can't find them. Nobody wants to be in the field. Nobody wants to work in a company with 10,000 men. So we created this program, and that's what Shaista is referring to. We created an apprenticeship program specifically for women. We said, we'll train you, we'll teach you how to be in the field, we'll give you the skills, we'll give you technology. The only thing that you have to do is commit and agree to open your own bank account. No bhai, no chacha, no father bank account has to be in your name. And you would not believe how much of a peeve that was when we started out that program. And we said, look, you have to have your financial independence. So we taught them how to do field work, taught them how to operate mobile phones and digital tablets. Most of them had used one but never owned one. We gave them unlimited internet. There was some worry, a lot of people do weird things when they have unlimited internet. We looked at it. They were mostly doing learning and creating marketplaces online. So they went into the field and they opened our eyes to a blind spot. K Electric had, we have experience centers for almost always men. We literally never interacted with our female customers, and we didn't know what they were thinking, what their apprehensions were, what their challenges were, and that all started coming back to us. We gave them electrician training, when we got to our social partner, because we wanted them to be technically strong as well, STEM training. And so when we approached a couple of organizations, they said, why are you doing this? Give them, something which is more relevant, like, silai sikha de, cooking sikha de, give them skills that they can do at home. And I said, we would like women to be in the public space. We would like them to be out there, because the more women that are out there, the safer our cities are going to be for women. We taught them how to ride bikes. We gave them self-defense training. Their biggest problem these days is stray dogs. We've taught them how to ward those off, and they love it. So when we started out, it was very difficult to get even 50 women. The next time that we applied, we found 400. So if any of you knows anyone who says there aren't enough women out there who want to work and do really hardcore field work, please do direct them to me. I'd love to help. So we're now 150 strong, and these women are now a pipeline. So they're meter readers, they're a meter inspection officers who are in the field, they're running customer care centers, so they've graduated through the organization, and they're really honestly brand ambassadors for change. They've opened our eyes to a lot of things. One of the key things is, by the way, so we've got a little bit of a percentage when you read meters. Thoda bahut to bunks maar lete hain log. They don't. Almost 100% accuracy.
Wow.
Not a single missed day. Faster at it because they really want to get home on time to be with their children. And we've given them flexible timing. So if they're done by 4, they can go home. They love it. So it's a journey, but it's something that we really love.
Thank you so much.
And these women you've met some of them, so you know what I'm talking about. They're firecrackers, not the shy, semi people that you would expect. Really, really women with a voice. I think they can punch. They can throw a punch or two.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And before, my last question to you is, we have consumers, power consumers sitting here. बिजली खर्च करना तो सब जानते हैं, बिजली बचाने का क्या बोल सकती हैं आप इनको? What are the alternative choices that they can take?
I think पता सबको है, समझते सब हैं, बहुत छोटी-छोटी चीजें हैं, and it's not just doing it in your own space. I think the way the tariff structure in Pakistan has been designed by the government, it's designed to really sort of benefit people who consume less. So, if you look at, and I don't know if you're familiar with protected and unprotected customers, if you use less than 200 units, almost most hai bijli. The minute you cross that threshold, it becomes twice as expensive. So do educate everyone you know, particularly people who work in your house, your domestic staff, drivers, people who come in contact with shopkeepers. If they've got the light on in the shop during the day, there's really no need. We've got plenty of sunlight. Any net metering customers in the house? None? Explore it. It's a beautiful service that the government of Pakistan allows. You can install solar panels on your rooftop and not only subsidize your consumption but also sell back to the grid. The price that the grid pays is I would say tad bit much, but it's a great way to go green as well. The sun in Karachi yields a lot of energy, so it's a very good investment. I think 2 or 3 years ke andar aapko apna payback mil jata hai. Look at the alternatives. Opt for, and not just for electricity, by the way, opt for sensor-based water taps. Switch to LEDs. I mean, that's the easiest thing to do. We have a little bit of educational material on, if you could just swap out your fans, and we did this study. If people in Pakistan just switched to energy efficient fans, the amount of electricity that we waste just because we're not being careful. वो जो inverter fans होते हैं, थोड़े से महंगे होते हैं, थोड़े जल्दी खराब होते हैं, but the impact that they have on the environment is great. And I'm pretty sure as the market develops, as more and more people will opt for these appliances, it's going to get better. I don't know how many of you look at the Energy Star labeling at the back of your electric appliances, and buying the fridge, buying the iron. Look at these things and see if it's going to be more efficient. Sasta, वो कहते हैं ना, सस्ता रोए बार बार, महंगा रोए एक बार. It has merit in it. please be mindful of how you use electricity. A lot of people have now started using solar lights in their outdoor areas, a great way to conserve electricity. You know, a lot of people say Pakistan has excess electricity, and yet, you know, consumption is a problem. I think mindful consumption is what we need to do. So plug out your laptops, stop leaving your TV on standby. I mean, these are all residual little things that are sort of piling up into your bill. And see, practice it for 1 month and see if it makes a difference. I'm pretty confident it does because we've done a couple of researches and case studies. But this is really also the right way to go for the planet. Every unit of electricity produced and consumed unwisely is actually a wrong that we're doing to the planet. So, you know, it's a better way to live, and it's also a nicer, more affordable in our country to live. So that's the right way to do.
Thank you so much. So the alternative to wasting electricity is to use it mindfully, okay? That's the alternative here. And Hassan, I'm going to come to you. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Hassan, you're a trailblazer in the fashion industry. You've set some remarkable standards when it comes to fashion and when it comes to style. You know, in terms of your journey, how have you, how would you say your brand is sustainable? What are the practices that you've implemented in your brand if it comes to sustainability or efficiency, with respect to the customer base that you're serving, or the practices that you have in terms of the work or with your workers, the materials that you use? I'd love to hear something about that.
Thank you so much for having me. Firstly, I'm incredibly honored to be sitting with giants like Philip Morris and KE. I'm just a speck of dust in a whirlwind storm that they are in the way of size and scale and experience. However, from the very beginning, I understood, coming from a family of educationalists. My mother's been an educationalist for 50 years, my grandfather before that, my great-grandfather before that. So I understood that the most important thing when starting off my business was to be able to empower the very grassroots of people that we're hiring to educate and understand the importance of what is it that is important for them, their rights, and most importantly, their responsibilities. In that way, we at HSY concentrate on two very strong areas to be able to empower this this thought process. One is through women empowerment, being a product of a single parent, especially a mother. That's incredibly important to me. And when we say women empowerment, I mean mostly women's education, not empowering them just with jobs, but to make sure that they're educated. And the second area that is of great interest to me is people living with disabilities, an area that we often don't concentrate enough on or don't even necessarily speak of. So as far as the women empowerment is concerned, and I'll get back to sustainability too, I just want to cover this. This is important to me. We have a project called the Share Project. The Share Project basically is that we find areas, villages, kasbas, chote sheher, jahan there is a larger population of destitute women where they're not being able to be educated or they do not have men to help them out. What we find is that often women are not being educated because of the male-centric control of that village, and we thought that rather than explain to them how important it is to educate them, we hit them where it actually affects them most, which is financially. So we started setting up these centers. These centers basically were, we would take up a space and set it up as a training unit for embroideries. Now this is two parts. One, we are trying to also save our embroideries and our culture and our craft, because there's really not much happening to do that. Our craft, our culture, our embroideries, our tankas are slowly but very quickly vanishing to be replaced by machine embroideries, etc., etc. And since Pakistan somehow doesn't seem to have a very strong understanding of how important it is to understand our past, to hold on to it, we were losing that. But in the same way, while we were doing that, we were providing these very ladies the kind of wages that they would have, fair wages that they would have at any city center in their towns. But we were not taking any women who were who had a father or a brother or etc. solely because after about a good 3-4 months, when they started realizing that these women were making more money than their families were, the men would start bringing their daughters in and say, help me do this for my daughter too. And our ask was simple. Wherever we did this project, we made sure that there was a school not more than 10 kilometers away. They had to enroll their child, their female child, into that school. She had to educate herself, and we were provided the same wages for half the work as long as she was being educated. In all the spaces, by the grace of God, that we have started this, education has gone up about 35 to 40%. And that's not a small number. So these girls are now being educated and earning and bringing home money and making those very men understand that though they're filling their pockets, but what they also don't understand is how much they're also being able to give their daughters the choice to understand what her rights are and what her future can be. And that is one. Two, this, of course, we apply to our workspace as well. When if any of the ladies who so choose to want to come to the city to actually work in our factory or want to be placed in a factory where there are, of course, lots of brands now hiring women, which I think is incredible, we will help them source that person as well. And if so, they require a certain kind of training, then I will send that kind of person who has that ability to teach that tanka to that place, so they are well versed and have an ability to find jobs. साथ साथ हमारे हाँ एक हमारा rule है, पाकिस्तान का rule है, that all companies must hire at least minimum of 3% of people who are disabled. Disability is a very big part of Pakistan. I don't know if you know the numbers, but the amount of people that have disabilities amount to the entire population of Karachi and Lahore combined. And these people are not in your vicinity or in your space or in your public space because they're being hidden away because of shame, etc. Besides the fact that the work I do with Now PDP, which is the organization of people working with disabilities, what we do actively at HSY as well as Now PDP is that we go to all government organizations and ensure that 3% of those people are actually being hired. And by hiring, we don't necessarily mean that we will find someone who has that skill. We at Now PDP will teach you that skill. And this 3% now has just recently now gone on to, it's inshallah going to be implemented, we hope by early next year that it will become 5%. The 5% of the people with disabilities will be hired. We at HSY take that very seriously. We currently have 6% of our workforce that has are disabled, and we provide and we continue to provide not just jobs just for them, but we continue to provide spaces for even their other family members or friends who may have disabilities to make sure they are kept in jobs elsewhere in the areas that I can have an effect on, which would be either fashion, textile, or the social network that I would have. For me to be able to go and speak personally is a very important agenda, and this is something that's very important to us. Third, wastage, fabric wastage is a very, it's a problem, and it's going to be a looming problem very, very quick, because the consumption and the hunger of consumption for fashion seems to grow more and more. We had a conversation recently where we said that perhaps that there was a notion that perhaps Saudis only wear their outfits once or twice. I wish it was just the Saudis. It isn't. It is everyone. Because of the price of the clothing coming down so quickly and fast consumption of clothes, we are wasting, I don't know if I'm correct on the numbers, but I want to say, because I just had a conversation with a real dear friend of mine who is in the same business of fast fashion. We are, as one family alone, contributing to at least, I believe, 10 to 15 kilos of fabric waste a year. And that is just one family of Pakistan. For this to stop, you've got to really draw back into other areas of wastage as well. Before I do, I want to also be very clear about the fact that HSY remains to be the only company that has not gone into fast fashion. For us to go into fast fashion is an easy make money. We have to stick our label to a smaller brand and be able to make money, but I believe that as a responsible, not just a citizen of Pakistan, but as a citizen of the world, I must be very careful of where I place my influence, so we do not do fast fashion. We on the other hand, do another kind of service where we The clothes that you make from us are done in Zardozi, they're done in Kora, they're done in Tapka, they're done in Sitara. None of these things are biodegradable. None of the things that you have been passed on from perhaps generation and generation that you tend to throw away or give to your masi or dump in some dumpster is biodegradable. We provide a service. At HSY, if you have something that is of something that you've inherited, something that you have, we are willing for you to bring it to us for up to word क्या होता है जी, मेरे तो टर्मिनोलॉजी नहीं पता, पर हम उसको ठीक करके आपके लिए खूबसूरत बना के नया बना देंगे कि आपको उसको वेस्ट ना करना पड़े. Refurbished, thank you. I'm such a big believer in we're not wasting, that when we, any single time when we build a new studio space and we are about to close a studio space, from the door handles to the doorknobs to the wood paneling, I will take every single thing off and reuse it. I believe that it is our responsibility in the smallest ways to the largest ways to be able to do that. Even our dyeing. The kind of chemicals that are used in dyeing and then continue to be so because control right now doesn't seem to exist. There is a lot of talk about it, but it hasn't necessarily been implemented as a big problem. So we have now switched to natural dyeing. What does natural dyeing mean? It means using natural dyeing materials like haldi, like tea bags, etc., to be able to start dyeing our clothes. So we as a company, our wastage of these kind of chemicals is far less than any other company. And I'm not saying this in any way to say that HSY is the leader in this and etc., etc. But the thing is, what I think is important for all of us to realize that KE and Philip Morris have said, this is all our planet, not just mine, not just yours. It's all our planet. We all must be responsible for it. I speak at organizations like this and other. I just spoke at another such talk where we were talking about fashion and its responsibility. The biggest thing I can give, because I did not go to a tech school. I studied fashion. I'm a glorified darzi at best. But my most important impact that I can give is with my time. And at HSY, we make sure that we give our time. I speak at many organizations and as many of such talks as possible, that perhaps by what I say, if we are leading fashion or we are taking fashion to the next level, people around us in the same space can also understand the responsibility that we have also to give back. And that is where we are right now.
Thank you so much. I think the most beautiful thing about what Hassan has shared is, we have a very one-dimensional view of the fashion industry, but icons like him, every measure that he's taken as a brand and everything that they're doing is, I think you should talk more about it, because it's important, because you never hear disability or women empowerment to be kind of central when it comes to the fashion industry. At least I would say that's the mass thought process, but it's not. You have icons, you have people in Pakistan who are thinking about all of these things. And one giveaway that I hope that we have post the discussion is that wonderful things are happening in Pakistan. Sadia, I'm going to come to you. Thank you again. It's nice to see you, other than WhatsApp, right? So, you're a pioneer in the local organic movement, right? You're one of the co-founders of the Karachi Farmers Market. What significant changes have you observed in consumer habits, when it comes to eating, and what do you believe is driving this shift? Is it working? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, and with such top-notch guests. The Karachi Farmers Market is a much newer organization as compared to everyone sitting here and the organizations that they're involved with. We were set up in 2015 as a community to bring a platform to bring together sustainable growers, sustainable producers and consumers. And we started off with not just food, but also looking at the environment. Food is something that affects all of us. It's not an area which affects some people or not. Everybody eats, and everybody needs to eat clean. And we just thought there was this lack of space where the few small growers which are actually producing clean food, there was no space for them to sell. They were really struggling, and people who were wanting to source clean food were struggling as well to kind of procure from small vendors, have deliveries done. So we basically came up with a platform, and we started off with, I'm just giving you a little bit of a background to let everybody know that how we started, and the fact that we were actually vetting our vendors before we called them in to the market. So we had a whole system where we would go check them out. If there was a farm, we would go to the farm. We had a questionnaire following SAFA rules. We had, we would look at not just the quality of food, but we would look at the hygiene, the cleanliness. We would look at how they were packaging, which was very important for us. Because most things, as you know, have been packaged in plastic, and plastic has been leaching into our foods for many, many years now. So we made a lot of vendors actually switch their packaging, and because we insisted to either paper or glass, which is more sustainable. Glass can be reused, and we also have a plan where we take back packaging which can be reused, for example glass bottles, and we return them to the vendors, and they kind of reuse them, which is a big thing for the ecosystem. So as far as your thing goes, we're living in a world where there's a lot of awareness because of social media, and social media plays a very, very important role now, but a lot of the information is also, a lot of it is correct, but a lot of it is incorrect. So we were also trying to let people know through the vendor platform what is right and what is not so right. Part of what we did was also that we set up, sorry, I have to, yeah. So, sorry, coming back to your question, awareness was one. Secondly was the fact that people saw a change in their health. They started eating clean, and they saw that a lot of their health issues went away, and which is why they kept coming back to clean food. Initially, people are skeptical of eating clean because the food is more expensive, firstly. So a lot of people can't afford it, and that is a lot of our masses can unfortunately not afford it. But the reason we started was also to eventually be able to make the platform large enough to be able to cater to the entire population, inshallah, at some point. Also, small farmers who are growing organically did not have a platform, so they came back to us.
And these are, local farmers from...
Yes, so of course, we were also focusing, I forgot to mention, so it was, of course, all local. Locally produced food, locally procured, locally grown food.
Okay.
And a lot of it is obviously seasonal, because we're looking at the carbon footprint of the food as well. So we're not looking at food that's coming from internationally being flown into Pakistan, but also mostly from the Karachi area, but also from the north, which is still less, less heavy on as far as their carbon footprint is concerned. So local, seasonal, and clean food is what we were focusing on.
None of it focus on how it's grown, where it's grown, how it's fertilized, all of those
exactly
things.
So genetically modified seeds is a big issue these days. A lot of the food that is being grown on a large scale is of course being used, genetically modified seeds are being used, and of course those seeds need a lot of pesticides and a lot of fertilizers, which are of course all again chemical based. So we were just buying from, or rather hosting farmers who were selling food which was sustainably grown.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And how are you educating, your consumers about the benefits of clean food? Do you do some campaigns? Is there any other special work that you're doing?
Well, at the farmers market, we used to have talks.
Okay.
We used to call in guests who would talk about clean food, who would talk about the environment, who would talk about everything that is sustainable, and we would also have things like alternative medicine, people who were coming in, who were talking about naturopaths who were coming in, and people who were doing practicing alternative medicine, again letting people know that there's a lot of natural ways that you can feel better other than food. Lifestyle changes play a very important role, of course, and so we would have yoga classes, community. It was all very community based. What we were trying to do was to get the community together, and so we could talk about we could talk about food, we could talk about lifestyle, we could talk about the environment, and so it's the small changes that really make a difference. Not just eating clean, but also the lifestyle that you're living. Small changes like, you know, carrying your own water bottle, for example.
Important.
I just saw that. You know, there's a lot of plastic. We all know the numbers. We know how extensive plastic usage and wastage is, and how the landfills are being constantly filled. Yeah, that's all. We're talking about a very holistic sort of a lifestyle change where food plays the most pivotal role, but also the other things that come along with it.
So the role of local vendors is crucial to the you know, the organic food chain. So what has been the impact? What are some of the success stories when it comes to the Karachi's farmer market? You know, in supporting the local community or the local vendors, and you know, what other alternative products are available there in the market other than fruits and vegetables? You know.
So we're doing fruits and vegetables. We're doing value-added products. So home-based people. So we have anything and everything from what you find at big supermarkets. We have the alternatives for that, made by small producers, and they're mostly home-based. So things like jams and peanut butters and chutneys and achars, all made preservative-free, artificial color and flavor-free. So it's all natural. We were also promoting local handicraft. So we have vendors who are doing handmade stuff from all over Pakistan. So not just embroidery, but also, you know, pottery and anything, basketry, lots of handmade stuff. Yes.
Thank you so much. So you'll find a lot of options available here at the festival today. I think a lot of people can join you in your next farmers market. We actually have a wonderful vendor here who's making brownies out of jaggery and atta, you know, and they're actually quite delicious.
Excellent.
Yes, and we have, you know, panjiri is never considered to be a snack, but I just had some and it's actually quite fantastic. It's great to give to kids. So, you know, please do visit their stalls. Everything here is handmade. It's made with a lot of love. That's the alternative to mindless buying or mindless consumption. I think it's good to, the joy of putting your heart into a product that you're making and to support local vendors in the industry is actually the alternative that's out there, right? So please give everybody who's joined us here today a big hand, because it takes a lot to put up a stall. Visit their stalls. Please encourage them. I'm very grateful to all of you for joining us in this panel. Again, you know, everything that you're doing is absolutely wonderful. I wish you more luck and growth on your journeys forward. Thank you for joining us. We have some giveaways for you. Neelam is, where is she? Neelam, if you can hear me, the giveaway. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sadia. Thank you. All of this has stuff from our local vendors. Enjoy it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will have our fireside chat at, sorry, what was the time? I think it was 4 to 5, if I'm not wrong. In about half an hour, we'll have Dr. Ayesha Mia and my friend Tofiq Pasha. Are you here? Yes. Join us, and it will be an interesting discussion on mindful living and mindful eating. Tofiq is, of course, a naturalist, and he's a nature lover. And Ayesha, if she hasn't already joined us, is a mental well-being expert. So it will be an interesting discussion. So do stay tuned. And then we have the drum circle. So for those of you who didn't have an opportunity in the morning, you have an opportunity right now to join in the drum circle. Thank you.